Welcome to the Stop Playing Podcast with Sham and Shaka, the podcast where we give you our hot takes on news, politics, entertainment, and sports. I'm Sham.
I'm Shaka. What's going on, Sham?
Nothing much. Still quarantining, my bro.
Yeah. It looks like we're gonna be settling in for a while too. And, we're chuckling, or I'm chuckling, but this is as of today from all the news that I've seen today, and we'll go into it. But we really now this week coming up, and a couple weeks beyond that are going to be the buckling up period. Where from all signs, from what we're being told, this is when the ride gets really rough. Have you been seeing the same type of news?
Yeah, I've been seeing the same type of news, and to be fair, I just don't want to see any more news. Like, I feel like at this point, you know what you need to do.
Yeah.
Like, the only thing that changes daily is the number of people. You still need to wash your hands. You still need to keep away from people. You still need to stay in the house as much as possible. And, maybe before some people were wearing masks, but the only new thing that we got out of this thing recently is that you should probably start covering your face more when you go out.
So actually, it's I agree in spirit with what you said. It's interesting, kind of the way you said it just now, because if you watch too much news, you get oversaturated with it. When we in our premiere, when we talked about Kobe Bryant and the reporting around his death, we spent a lot of time talking about him. But we made this comment that the way his death was covered was sort of a reflection on reporting. The way this is being covered is also a reflection on media and the way that reporting operates. I'll say all that to say, and I didn't add it to the outline, but we can touch on it. We don't really have to spend a lot of time. You got Fox News getting sued. I want to say it started in Washington, which is probably the more appropriate place for it to start, or for it to be based. But they're getting sued for spreading misinformation, and they're taking it seriously. They already have lawyered up the Murdoch.
They're getting sued for saying it was a hoax in the beginning.
Yeah. And
I think I did send you that article, but we weren't talking about bringing it up.
The people brought that suit, they're serious. They're not playing. So I'll be interested to see if, Fox could have been sued for that for decades at this point, and it hasn't happened. But we'll see how that plays out, if they choose to settle, which they probably won't. So, but yeah. So we're buckled up. We're ready to go. Sham and I just talked, and we'll probably be giving you guys a little bit more entertainment in different formats as this thing progresses. Hopefully give you some small appetizers, keep you guys going along, because we know you're just eagerly anticipating us every day. We can't do it every day. We're sorry, Sham, right?
You would if you could.
I would if I could. And she knows me very well. She knows me very well. But yeah, you've been virtually hanging out. We talked about it last time, but do you really like those? How you feel about those?
Feel about what? Virtually hanging out?
Yeah.
I've only done it once. Like, I really just don't have the time, to be honest. Like, I'm still working and I'm still taking care of my mom, so it's kind of hard to put focus anywhere else. But I make a point to still text and try to call my friends as much as I can.
Yeah. Real quick before we go to the news, here's my little snippet. So I've been virtually hanging out a lot, okay, and it's been very good. And what I've seen, and I think a lot of people will relate to this, it's interesting how human beings work and how we work in this country, especially. Virtually hanging out has now taken on the same types of patterns that like actually hanging out does. Where you have people, so with virtual hangouts, just like with normal hangouts, you have an agreed upon time. The platform, in our case Zoom, that we all tell where we're gonna be, what time we're gonna be there, this and that. And then the same people who are late with regular hangouts are late in virtual hangouts. The same people who make up some dry reason why they gotta leave early in regular hangouts do the same thing in virtual hangouts. And I think it's hilarious because everyone knows that everyone is sitting right at their house doing basically nothing during these virtual hangout times, and people will still be like, guys, I gotta go, like after like 20 minutes. And so they came if it's a virtual happy hour, they come take a drink and then leave. The only thing that's different, Sham, is somebody can't stick somebody with the tab. So in that way, it's probably better. Hey, give me a drink real quick. Oh, I gotta go. I'll get you next time. They can't do that in a virtual hangout. But the same people would be like, "What time did we say we were going? 5?" And then they come in at 5:30. And then they're like, "I don't know how to get in. I'm stuck at the door." That means they'll know how to get in the damn link. So it's crazy. But
Mm-hmm.
so I thought that was interesting. But now it's been a lot of fun now. And I've seen some people who I haven't seen in a while. So that's been good too. It's giving an excuse for everybody to kind of, it's kind of like when social media first came out. So it's a good thing in that respect.
It's so
But it's
funny
been
because
fun.
like you don't even really need an excuse to go. If you just don't want to be there no more, be like, all right, guys, this is cool. I'm out. Like you know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? Like
Exactly.
it ain't even that
It,
deep.
and just like in the normal hangout, if you're like, "Look, man, I'm tired of this. So I just want to leave." I mean, you don't gotta say it like that, but you know what I'm saying. To your point, you can just be like, "All right, guys, I'm ready to go." But people will be like, "Oh, I gotta like go walk my dog." It's like, well, you know, you're supposed to be outside, right? But okay,
And
whatever.
you know you don't have a dog, right?
Right. Like you're lying. We can see everything going on in your house. Like cut the camera off. Stop lying.
When'd you get a dog?
Yeah. Shit, I'd rather you just be like, "Oh, my internet's going out. I gotta go." Make up a stupid lie like that. At least we'll be like, "All right,
Like,
whatever."
like, yo, this has been fun, but I'm ready to go watch some TV. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it just, I'm done.
Yeah. I'm done. I'm tired. No,
Love you
it's been
guys. See
it's
you
been
next
fun.
time.
Yep. Yep. It's fun. It's been a lot of fun. So we got so I mean, look, the COVID-19, that's still obviously the news. Sham, actually, well, we both watched Meet the Press today. So that was awesome. I mean, you're
Yeah,
not as excited about that as I.
you know that is
But
not my jam. I woke up and I was like, dang, Meet the Press is on because I was
oh,
staying at my mom's and she
yeah.
watches it every weekend.
Yeah.
And I was just like, guess I'm gonna suffer through this. And I texted you immediately and was like,
Yes. Yes.
I'm roped into watching this.
Yeah, and I'm glad we're doing this today because really Meet the Press kind of encapsulates so that we don't have to spend a lot of time on the obvious news. Really, it encapsulates the news of the week, or it's supposed to. Now, one thing we didn't talk about our pre-production meeting, but it's relevant. You saw the chart, so we've been seeing charts all the time, and they reference these in the press conferences all the time. Showing tracking infections, tracking unfortunately fatalities with the virus, and what we're trying to see is a level off. Sham, I had to pause it because they put it up, but they didn't put it up long enough for you to really look at it. They put a chart of America versus the rest of the world
Yeah,
and how
we're looking
we're
crazy.
horrible.
We're
We look
looking crazy.
crazy. Even so, Italy, which I mean was like the poster child, a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, of how badly and how devastating the virus can be. They've leveled off. Now they've went completely dark and shut everything down, but they did it and they've leveled off. The only one, Sham, that I saw, and I paused it so that I could see it and analyze a little bit. France is going up. They are at a good pace in general. They're not nearly as bad as we are, but it did look like over the last maybe few days, France went up a little bit. But everywhere else in Europe, Italy, Great Britain, all of them, they either leveled, stayed at the same, or they went down. And even though France went up, it was nowhere near as high as us. China, everybody makes a joke, and I do too, that you can't trust the data that comes out of there. But I have to believe that they've gotten their hands around most of this by now because they're totalitarian. If they tell you don't go out, you're not going.
Oh yeah, you
So
die.
yeah, like okay, well, yeah, they're like you got two options. The virus, you could go out, it gets the virus, and it could kill you, or we could kill you for being out. So
They
how
talk
about that?
about that in the Philippines too. Like, come
Yeah.
outside if you want to. You're dead.
Homeboy said it at the press conference. I was
Yeah,
like, whoa.
yeah.
He's
No
like,
games
yeah,
played.
if we see you, we shoot you on sight. So I mean, choose what you want to do. Why don't you just stay in the house? So yeah, so America looks crazy though. It was embarrassing to see that. It was really embarrassing to see that.
Well,
Like, go ahead. Go ahead.
it's embarrassing. Yes, we do have our population is a lot, saturated.
Or
Oh, I don't
diverse.
want to say
Yeah.
diverse, and I don't
Yeah.
want to say more saturated because China clearly has a population issue. I mean, you can't have more than two
Right.
kids. Um,
Right.
but and also too, our numbers look bad because there are pockets that are terrible. Like New York
Correct.
is worse than a lot of countries in the world.
Yes. Correct.
So that's why America looks even worse than like if New York and Louisiana and California, even Washington isn't as bad as they were.
Right.
Some of,
Washington has had an improvement. Yeah.
exactly. So it's just those pockets that just make us look tragic as hell. And we know why those pockets are tragic, and we're not going to get into that. But yeah, it's just when you look at it on its face, it's like, oh, damn, U.S. is taking a huge hit. But then you got to look at where those hits are happening. I mean, there's places like freaking Nebraska, Montana, North and South Dakota. You know what I'm saying? Like it just doesn't add up. It's not evenly dispersed.
Well, it's not evenly distributed, but and I hope I don't inadvertently go into what you were saying not to go into, because I don't know. I think I know what you mean, so I will try to avoid what you're saying. But look, the rest of so I think the word we both were looking for was the rest of those countries, essentially, and most countries in the world are homogenous. Like basically, you have one type of population, you have one government that controls it. Here, we have the federal government, and we will slide right into that in a second. We have a federal government, but then we have different layers of government, and people, the country is so diversified, it's so spread out, like you said. I think this actually does marry into another point that was on Meet the Press, though, that I found very interesting. They were talking about the resources that are allotted across the country. Most of these places, the places you were talking about, Nebraska, agricultural states in which Chuck Todd said this very well. Social distancing is their way of life. They have these big farms and stuff, and there's not that many people concentrated in the same place like a New York or wherever. But resources are spread out too.
So, yeah, he was talking about the ICU beds.
Exactly, the ventilators. There's literally a place. There are counties without even one. Hundreds of counties without
he
even one.
He said there was only 6 in the 161 agricultural counties.
Exactly. And then when you measure that against the populations in those counties, specifically those quote unquote higher at risk populations, those numbers don't add up, and you will see a spike there. Unfortunately, you will see a spike of fatalities because they don't have the resources once it gets there to treat it. And a lot of those states aren't really prepared for it because they're non-states that still have not had a stay in place, a shelter in place order done. So America is interested in that sense. You are correct. I think it's misleading both ways. I think you could say it like that. And I think that's an excellent point you made. If you just take New York, or if you just take, even Detroit or something like that right now, which is another quote unquote hotspot, and you just go by that data, it skews the rest of the data a certain direction. But then if you go resource wise, and if you go preparedness wise, and even testing wise, it skews the data too, which is also why we look crazy, because we can't even test everybody. So,
yeah,
and not even close to everybody. We can't even test the people we think should be tested. So our data looks bad regardless. And the more accurate it gets, the worse we're going to look, which is also really scary. So we'll see, but we're buckling up for this week. Hopefully, I think the majority of the population, whether their leaders accept it or not, is taking this seriously. Sham, I was embarrassed for DC. You saw those people at the Wharf?
Oh my God, I was gonna bring that up, but I'm glad you did it for me.
Yeah, no. I'm you go take it, please.
Yo, what the hell is up with your folk, man? Like,
I was so embarrassed.
What are we not getting about stay your ass in the house and stay away from people? Those pictures of the people at the Wharf buying seafood. Now, granted, the seafood at the Wharf is delicious. I know you don't eat seafood because you're allergic, but I mean, it's a good time. It's delicious, but it's not worth dying for. It's not.
So for people outside the area, Sham just basically laid it out. DC has a wharf area, like a lot of cities. But our wharf is relatively, this has been a rejuvenation of that area. So it's been gentrified. There are a lot of new condominiums, new clubs, Anthem, a bunch of places.
But that wharf has stayed the same.
Yeah, now that particular area that we're talking about is in the middle of all that, but it's still known to the local residents, and it has stayed the same, and they sell seafood. Now, here's my question for you, Chef. I understand people like seafood. I get it. As you said, I have no choice in the matter. So I'm not partial to it anyway. I'm not trying to be funny, but didn't this damn virus start at a seafood market in Wuhan?
Yeah.
In Wuhan, China. Now, I'm not saying that's a reason to specifically single out seafood, because it's not, because obviously the virus is everywhere regardless. But I just see it seemed to me that would be the last place I would want to be anyway.
Yeah, but
just out of like mental association. Am I tripping?
They ain't selling you no bats at the Wharf, though. It's just fish and shrimps and crabs.
you're right. I mean, this
It's apples and oranges.
apparently start with a bat. And actually, I'm tripping. It wasn't a seafood market, right? It was just an open air market.
Yeah, it's just a market. Like, you know,
Yeah,
they
it
have
was an open air
markets.
market. Okay,
Yeah.
so I rescind my statement. That was just an excuse for me to take a shot at seafood.
Yeah, don't do
but,
it. Why you coming for seafood? Seafood ain't come for you.
Oh, it didn't?
No.
Hey, look, have I ever told you that I won't on this podcast? Maybe at some other point when we have time to talk about it. I found out in a very graphic way how I was allergic to seafood. And yes, so to answer your question, it came from me.
Today it
didn't. Trust me, I stay on the memories. So you'll never have to worry about coming for me again. Let's just say you almost never met me and would have been doing this for somebody else. I'll put it that way. But yeah. So, but to get back to it real quick, yeah, these pictures of these people at the wharf, guys, it was disgusting to see it.
And you know what's also disgusting about your city? Have you seen the pictures of the people hanging out to watch the cherry blossoms?
I was about to say, I compare this to a couple weeks ago, or maybe a week and a half ago, where we had this problem at the cherry blossoms, but apparently people are still doing it. The difference is the city before, at the first time this happened, they kept the cherry blossoms open because I guess they assumed people wouldn't be dumb enough to just go down there and congregate. This time the city supposedly is saying we will enforce regulation on people we see doing this, but I haven't really seen that happen. But yes, you're right. We're tripping. People are down at the cherry blossoms. Now, I will say those out of towners, though, in my opinion, because people come to DC to see the cherry blossoms. So, you know, I guess if you plan this trip and maybe you already here this week or whatever, or business, you decided you want to go down there, that's on you. So that's what I'm telling myself, Sham, about who's
I'm
down
about
there.
to say you tried it because
Why?
You know those.
I mean, people come for them.
I understand that, but those were locals. Let's be real. And they were 100% locals going down to that wharf. Like I know you're trying to.
Yeah, the wharf, I can't say nothing about the wharf because you got to be local to know where I'm talking about because again, that whole area has changed. So you know where you're going when you're going down there. Yes,
as much as
that one I can't run from.
To go to the wharf and pick up some crab legs, I ain't doing it. I'm not.
Yeah. That one I'm not going to run from because there's no explanation. Like you got to know exactly where you're going to go to this place because they've changed the streets. Like there used to be a street that took you right there. You got to like go around it and do all that.
Last time I went down there, I had to circle the block like 4 times because you can't every like little you can't park there. All the meters were covered. You couldn't even pull up next to a meter. I literally illegally parked and ran down to the wharf like as fast as I could, bought my stuff and ran back to my car so I wouldn't get towed. Like that's how crazy it is down there to try to even park.
Yeah. But so I'll take the wharf on our jacket, but we're not wearing the cherry blossom ones. Those out of towners. Those out of towners. Those out of towners. But hey, DC, I'm always standing up. Shan be taking shots. She been taking more and more shots lately, dressing them up as other stuff. But I'm gonna stand tall for us.
I ain't dressing
I'm gonna leave Maryland. I'm gonna leave Maryland alone. Yeah, just like you took the shot at us, vote for Mary Berry.
Right,
and you keep bringing up the crack. You keep bringing up the crack.
Look, just to be clear, I ain't dressing nothing up. I'm coming straight for y'all. Like
yeah, I understand it. I'm gonna leave Maryland alone though. I got people in Maryland. I got people in Maryland. I'm gonna leave.
I don't care. Shoot at Maryland.
Nah. I'm not doing that. So anyway, I mean, y'all do have Baltimore. I'm gonna leave that alone. But anyway, all right. So look, I mean, we're talking about local stuff. We're talking about national stuff. On Meet the Press today, again, I think this is a perfect encapsulation of a few things we just brought up. Shelter in place. So they had 2 governors on there. Sham saw it too, and you had Governor Inslee from Washington, and we talked about on the show. Washington, for lack of a better word, was the first hotspot and pretty much ground zero for the virus's outbreak in the U.S. They have turned the corner. They had it bad at first, but you know they had to act, man. They were the ones put a 6-week shelter in place, essentially shut down the schools, shut down everything before other places even started thinking about doing that. They had to. And so they've now turned the corner. It has worked for them. Then they have Governor Asa Hutchinson from Arkansas on there. Arkansas, he has decided not to do a shelter in place. And when asked about it, didn't really answer the question about why he didn't do it. He just basically was on well, we're doing everything else that the uh, committee or whatever has recommended. The task force has recommended, so it's working for us. So we don't really feel we need to do that. Then try to make some false equivalency talking about, and really it's discriminatory against blue collar workers because everyone else gets to stay home and they have to go to work. So let me get this straight. You're putting everyone's health at risk, and you're going to try to use class warfare as a reason for doing that, or create class warfare as a reason for doing that. No, nobody wants to go to work. And yes, I want those people to have a job, but that doesn't mean you let everybody go about business as usual and spread the disease. How are those workers going to feel when they get the disease? Like that, I mean, that's crazy. Sham, I want to throw my blood through the TV when he said that. And that's the kind of logic, quote unquote, that people are using. I mean, you have any thoughts on that? I'm getting my blood already. I'm blowing out my microphone.
No, I think it's like, what he was lunching. He was lunching.
Yeah, just deflected. Just deflected. It's like, dude, you have no good reason why you're not doing this, except you're supporting the president, clearly. So it's like, whatever. So to wrap that up, in general, our response is still not unified. It's still not mixed. Some of these oh, and then he repeated, to wrap up my final point, the point that the president's been making, which is we're trying to make now. 45 is out here saying, oh, well, all the stockpiles of resources, ventilators, stuff like that. That's not the federal government's job to pass that out. We're just sort of we're the last option. We're the backup. You states are supposed to do that. And I like what Governor Inslee said. He said, look, imagine if we were at war, this was Pearl Harbor or something, and Roosevelt was like, oh, well, don't worry about building a ship, or don't worry about us building a ship, like Connecticut, Utah, whoever, y'all go out and build a ship and defend Pearl Harbor and defend us at war. Like, that makes no sense. And then the other dude comes on later and was like, he shouldn't have made that comparison because we shouldn't finger point in a time of war. The president is supposed to lead in a time of war, and if he does not, then yes, we point the finger at him and say, "What are you doing?" So that's what needs to happen. So I feel sorry for people in those states because obviously, you can't control what your governor is doing, whether you voted for him or not. But this is ridiculous. The federal government doesn't just lay the law down. And the Surgeon General, Sham, I mean, we talked about it a little bit. He came on there. What is his rank? I know his name is Jerome Adams. Is he's an admiral?
Yeah. Gosh, each Surgeon General has been an admiral of some sort.
Yeah.
The last was a vice admiral.
I think it is vice admiral. Because you sent it to me this morning. And he can't be, but I mean, is he younger than us? He seems like it. If he isn't.
No, I think he might be a little older. Vice Admiral Jerome Adams. That's
okay. Well, he certainly
he's a little older. He's 46, I want to say.
Wow, really? Okay,
45, he has 46.
He has a youthful disposition because I would not have guessed him to be that old. And that's not an insult. That's just like
he just looks young.
Himself like a young. He looks younger.
And actually, the Surgeon General before him, I found out she is a graduate of Hampton University. So that was.
I was about to say that's the one I always think about. I actually forget, or I shouldn't say forget, but especially before this crisis started, when I pictured the Surgeon General, I pictured the lady you're talking about, as opposed to him. And then this crisis happened. So, what do you remember her name?
Yeah, I just had it and I lost it. Very, very great at preparedness. I am.
Yes, she was. Yes, she was. And I'm not throwing shade on him.
Sylvia Trent Adams, interestingly, and now Jerome Adams.
Oh, that is interesting. But Hampton, all right, cool. Always good to shout out to school.
And he got his bachelor's from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I just took a shot at Baltimore, and here he comes.
Yeah, he went to high school in Baltimore and everything. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, good. And he did a good. Listen, he works directly for the president. He works for 45. The guy we're talking about next, our hero, one of our heroes here. He technically, I guess, does too, but unlike Dr. Fauci, Adams, he can't go out there and buck 45. He just can't. And Sham and I were talking a little bit even before his interview, and I was like, look, at this point, I understand. I don't like it, and I know I used the term carrying water. I think he did a good job of not necessarily carrying water on Meet the Press. He's pretty frank. Even when Chuck Todd pressed him, he was like, "Look, I'm just telling you what people should do, and these governors they need to shut stuff down, but I can't direct them to do it." And basically, underneath that was, I can't go against the president either if he's not directing them.
You know, as he was talking, and I was thinking about the same things that you're saying, how he wouldn't carry water, how he wouldn't necessarily, like, he was very straightforward. So I said, you know, I'm going to look this guy up because I was very curious at that point as to what his political party was.
Mm-hmm.
He's independent. So
Okay.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, look, he's independent. He works in the Republican administration under, a child. So that child, if he doesn't like him, he can let him go.
Mm-hmm.
Surgeon General's an appointment.
And he used to work for Mike Pence. So there's that.
Well, there's that. Mm-hmm. But I think he handled himself well. And I think his main focus, I think if you were to ask him, hey, what are you going on Meet the Press to do today? I think he would say, look, I'm going to educate the public. He pulled it out. He made a video. I am going to watch it about, what kind of masks or how to make a mask, like homemade if you don't have it, and then what to do and take it out of cloth. And he kind of did that on the show as well. Real quick before we move to Dr. Fauci, Sham, what is your opinion about masks in terms of like, should we be wearing them? Does it work? I made a comment like 3 or 4 shows ago about the difference, but then even the Surgeon General addressed it. So what's your opinion about it? And cloth masks and stuff like that.
I'm of the opinion that something is better than nothing, but if that something is going to cause more harm than good, you might as well just wear nothing. I mean, because if you're wearing the cloth mask and your concern is the droplets, then the droplets are just going to connect themselves to the mask and just sit in the mask. Now, if we're talking about, well, transmission is just done by just merely talking to someone, then you definitely need to wear it.
You need them.
So it's just like kind of one of them things. It's like, I don't know. It's kind of like a catch-22 to you. Do you or don't you? So that's why I've been kind of looking around for masks that, will kind of help a little with both. I don't know.
I've definitely seen more people in the street wearing them, especially in the neighborhood, walking the dog, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. So Dr. Fauci, Sham, we spent a lot of time talking about him in the last episode, and his popularity has grown for better or for worse. You want to lay this one out?
Your boy got stands. He got stands.
My goodness.
So he's had to kind of beef up his security. And when you think of beef up your security, you think it's because people are trying to hurt you.
Yeah. Because that was my first reaction when I saw this. Yeah.
He's had to beef up because people love him.
Yeah. It's like both. Like he has both concerns.
Yeah.
He's getting death threats, but then he's also getting like on the street, like people, he's rock star basically. Like people want to take pictures with him and get his autograph and stuff like that. And I think he was cool. The article I read made it sound like at first he was kind of gracious about it, like because he was just happy that people were listening to him. So he would sign some autographs at first, and then it got to the point where he was like, "Wait a minute, like this isn't really social distancing. Like I need y'all to stay away from me. I don't know y'all." And like, what do I look like out here taking selfies and signing autographs without telling people like this to social distance?
Yeah.
And it was just making him uncomfortable. I mean, this is a man of science, and he's not. He will be perfectly happy. He hates. He doesn't. He's gracious, but clearly he didn't do this so that he could get up on a press conference every day in the White House briefing room and talk to everybody about diseases. He does this because he has a passion for the work.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to be. Yeah,
right. He made an excellent statement by saying he's a man of science.
Yeah.
Men of science, women of science, people who are in labs all day, just trying to do research and figure out how they can help the world. They don't care about celebrity. Matter of fact, they're like recluses.
That's right.
They go into their labs and they only talk to the people that are in their labs with them. They're not trying to be out here like this. And you can tell, like, all of his life, this man has just been sitting inside a lab or in his office, or maybe he had been an educator at one point. And that's like encapsulates his small world. And
Yeah.
now there's this guy. Now he's the guy that's on TV every day, and everybody is hanging at his every word at the edge of their seat, listening to him to what direction they should go in their daily lives. And it's like he goes from one extreme to another.
Yeah, and to a lesser extent, but I respect her as well a lot. Deborah Burks is the same way, and I think she made a comment the other day, and I think Dr. Fauci feels like this too. The only reason that you have to see them every day is because people aren't listening. it's
Mhm.
like it's like we would not come up here every day. Because we want to work. We want to do the work. We want to get the data. She I found two things very interesting. He's been more just consistently like, look, just do what I say, just do what I say. She's been up there saying, look, I've been trying to get more data and research like the results. And he's saying it too, like follow the data. But she's been airing her frustrations out about the lack of data that's coming back. She's like, look, we got these tests out. They're not getting back to us quickly. And people are not practicing what we're doing. And this is showing. I think Dr. Fauci feels the same way. And I think he understands that he's not going to go out and embrace celebrity as if he's happy he's famous from this. Like, this is not what he wants. But he's going out there every day because people aren't listening. Like, you guys are still social congregating. And he's been telling these governors, like, look, shut down. I don't understand what they're doing. Like, I think him and Sanjay Gupta, that's probably the maddest I've seen the two of them, is when that Georgia governor came out and was like, well, the reason I decided to go shelter in place this week is because we didn't know, like, all the different ways you could catch the disease up until today.
What?
Remember that? He
Straight
said that.
lie. I know
Yeah.
he did.
Oh, that was your what? Like, yeah. Like, what are you saying? And Sanjay Gupta and Fauci both came out. Sanjay Gupta was like, yo, I live in Georgia because he's in CNN in Atlanta. And he's like, I live in Georgia. My kids go to school here. My kids who were school age came home and was telling me a month ago what people at school were telling them. Our governor sounds like an idiot. Fauci said, he was like, Fauci said the same thing. Like, this is unacceptable. Like, close down. And don't go out here and lie on me like we haven't been telling you what to do. Stop. But the stands, Sham, this whole story with Fauci, it just shows you in a nutshell. Even in a time of epidemic and crisis, all a lot of people in America can think about is, ooh, this dude's famous. Like, I want to take a picture with him. Or the stands are like, ooh, that's fake. Or not the stands. The crazy people are like, ooh, that guy's a liberal, uh, you know, whatever, fake news guy who's telling everybody to stay home because he's against the president. So let me send him a death threat instead of do what he says.
Right.
That's America, a lot of America in a nutshell right there, which is why we can't control the disease. It's crazy. And it made both of us very upset because we both have a lot of respect for him and what he's trying to do. So hopefully that beefed up security can find some of these nuts and lock them up and make an example out of them. Leave homeboy alone. Leave Uncle Tony alone, y'all.
Yeah, we need him. Don't be getting too close.
Uncle Tony try to work. That's all he tried to do. And then finally, bigger news wise, or national news, I should say. So this made national news, and then I got an update about this morning. A bad one. So Cham, you want to lay that one out too?
So the Navy captain that was captain of the USS Theodore Roosevelt that has just kind of been chilling outside of Guam, he was fired because he sent an email to like a reporter, letter or something to a reporter, basically serving as a whistleblower to the fact that the Navy hasn't been supportive of trying to get the members of the ship, who I think at the time there were like 67 cases of COVID-19 on board. Now there's 155. And he basically was losing his mind because he's like, dude, we're trapped on this ship. People are sick. They need help, yada, yada, yada. And he sent a letter to, because everything in the military is classified until they say it isn't. And he was fired as the captain. I mean, obviously he's still in the military. And then the news that we just got today, that was reported today, was that he has been infected. He has tested positive for COVID-19.
Yeah. Very sad. So any initial thoughts, and then we can kind of dive into it. But...
So before any of this happened, my thought was, and this is when the number was smaller, and how they were trying to mulling around. They were mulling around with the idea of just docking the ship and letting them off, and then
Hmm.
they were like, "No, we're not going to dock the ship." My thought was this: at the time, they had a smaller amount. It was, I
Hmm.
think, it was like 67, which I just said.
Okay.
The ship, to me, I mean, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but this was my opinion on the whole thing. If you have 65, 67 people on the ship who have contracted the virus,
Hmm.
quarantine those 50 or however many people into one
Hmm.
part of the ship
Hmm.
and have them quarantined for however much time it takes for the virus to pass. And then
Hmm.
those who have not been, who are not positive, quarantine them to another part of the ship and have, or release them. Because my
Hmm.
thing was, if you want to dock the ship and let everybody out, what you're doing is letting them out into the world. Keep the
Yeah.
ones that are infected on the ship until they get better. That was my thing. Like, I didn't,
Yeah.
to me, it was a no brainer. Just quarantine the sick ones and, keep, obviously, keep testing to make sure that the other ones aren't sick and just let it be that. But I don't know. Maybe I sound ignorant. Maybe there's,
No, you don't sound ignorant. I think that's a very good way to lay it out. I would compare it actually the way you're making it sound. I do have some slightly differing opinions, but the way you're saying it at least would show sort of a plan about how to do it. I liken this to I think what I felt was an unpopular opinion from my part at the time about when the NBA players got it, right? Remember that?
Mhm.
And they quarantined. So Rudy Gobert tested it or test positive, and then Donovan Mitchell. But even before Donovan Mitchell, I think they were already making plans to quarantine the entire team and all the staff in the hotel that they were staying in
Mhm.
and test them there. Now, this is a much bigger population, but the principle is the same, which is I think what you're saying. Like, look, you already basically have a contained space. And that was my logic when people were beefing about how all the players got tested so quickly. So it was a different type of beef, but it was the same principle. Like, look, you already know that whether it's one person or two people, a small percentage of this contained group has it. So you might as well get everybody in that group and quarantine the people you know who has it. Quarantine really all of them separately, and then test them all, and then you can let them go, which is exactly what they did with Utah with the team. They tested everybody who was in contact, the players, the staff, everybody, coaches, all of that. I believe the number was like 58 people, just based off the fact that two people had it. I think
Mhm.
you extrapolate that in this case, and I think what you're saying makes a bunch of sense. Now, what may have been the differences? Okay, well, what are the dimensions of the ship? Is it like actually? It sounds like it may be even easier to do it on the ship
The
because
ship's
those
huge.
those ships are huge. But now that's what I'm going to sound like you. Like maybe I'm a little ignorant about how the dimensions of how that would work on that. You see these people on these cruises, and I think this is where the captain was coming from, because he explained why he did it. He was like, "Look, we're trapped." So in one world, for the outside world looking in, I guess you could call it a quarantine, but it's gonna spread on the ship, and it's gonna give people who are normally healthy less of a chance not to get infected. Because yeah, the ship is huge, but damn, it's not that huge. Like it's not as huge as the rest of the world they could be in. So like, let my people who we know don't have it off the ship, but that takes time. I believe you talked about a time period. I think the agreed upon still even now time period of testing and kind of making sure nobody has it is 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Maybe that's been expanded, but I think that's the accepted time period right now. So I think the captain, if I'm not mistaken, his problem was that he wasn't even given that type of direction. Like, okay, we're gonna. I think if they being the brass, had come to him like you just said it, and said, "Look, we're gonna keep you guys at sea, or whatever you want to call it, away from the shore for 3 weeks. We're gonna test all these people, and then those people who don't have it after like 2 weeks, we're gonna let them go. If we know they've had no contact, if you possibly have contact, maybe we'll keep them another week and then we'll let everybody else off and then we'll treat these other people. I feel like he was concerned that he was not getting direction and that it was causing harm to him and his crew. So I think if they had presented it like you just said it, I don't think it would have come to this point. I don't, because when I read his, I guess statement, or they put some of it out in his position, it sounded just to me that he was frustrated that there was no plan and it was endangering his sailors. And then when you see the response, you and I both know pretty much a lot of the same people who have served in the military, specifically the Navy, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you saw some of that stuff on social media. We didn't talk about it, but they came out and they were like, look, yeah, we understand why he had to get let go, the chain of command. You're not supposed to, do what he did. But we respect what he did. And that's why those sailors gave him the ovation they gave him when he left the
Oh yeah, they
ship.
was shouting Crozier, Crozier,
Yeah.
Crozier.
Yeah, because he did it for them.
The Navy
he didn't know at the
Secretary
time.
didn't respect it though.
No, he didn't.
I'm gonna read you this quote. He said,
no, he did not.
I could reach no other conclusion that Captain Crozier had allowed the complexity of his challenge with the COVID outbreak on his ship to overwhelm his ability to act professionally, when acting professionally was what was needed most at the time. It creates a panic, and it creates the perception that the Navy is not on the job, the government's not on the job, and it's just not true. Yes, it is true, sir.
Yes,
you
it is
weren't
true.
on your job.
You were not. Yes, it is true. Yes,
this
it
is why
true.
your man's panicked. Hello.
That's right. Yeah. He was panicking because it was reality, and he understood that his people were not on the job. He had the nerve to throw the government in there. He'd have been better off just leaving it at the Navy.
Right.
He could at least speak for that, and then we could be like, look, let me just back off. If it gets the impression the government's not on the job, so that means you wrote that letter for 45's sake.
Exactly.
So that, yeah. Because you wanted to throw him in there so people wouldn't point the finger at him. Because that's basically what all his press conferences are at this point. He comes up there and reminds us every day that this isn't his fault, or tries to.
Oh yeah, they won yesterday. He really went off the rails. I didn't know what he was talking about.
It's getting worse and worse and worse every day. he the more blame he feels, the more time he's gonna spend just addressing that.
And he just starts talking about nothing. He starts talking about like the NCAA champions that come see him, and I'm like, what are we talking about? Why is this press conference still going on?
It's crazy. So and then and then the captain, he tests positive, so he's gonna. Hey, I bet you he's like, look, you know what? I'm not on the ship no more though. How about that? I'm gonna go home and recover.
Yeah,
and keep my
I've been saying this, and obviously I don't want to get it, but I hope that I've already had it and I've just recovered, because
me too.
I honestly just hope I've already gotten it and I can move on with my life now, because I mean it's just crazy.
Yeah,
like it's almost better if you just get it and recover, and then you just go about life.
They showed a graphic, all these maps and graphics, and it had different colors for different types of people, and it showed a bunch of balls bouncing around in the space to show how it could spread. And the point of the graphic was to show if you don't move and the social distancing, it's hard for it to spread because the balls don't bounce around and hit each other as much. And it showed the people who had it and recovered. Man, it was like the second they have it recovered, like even if they bounce around and do whatever, it's not going to spread it because they can't spread it. Like once you recover, they're done. They're out of the mix. And so it's like two things: either get it recovered and then you can go out. But I mean, not really, but whatever. But get it recovered and then you're good and you're like one of the safe people, or just stay at home.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. But look, like everybody else, prayers for him. Hey, I'm not in the military, but from a civilian standpoint, you looked out for your people.
Exactly. And that's all you can ask him to do.
That's all in my opinion, that's all he's supposed to do. So he probably said, yeah, all right, whatever. You write your letters how you want. I'm going home. All right. Well, I mean, in terms of news, not really much. I mean, there's plenty of politics, but I don't really care about that. So that's all the news and political. Well, that's all the political news I have for tape. We have other news.
Oh, yeah.
We could certainly. Yeah.
I mean, look, the biggest product of this quarantine has been all of the social media entertainment that we've been able to be privy to. Mm-hmm. Like, it's been awesome. If you are not on Instagram, I advise you to make a page, because there's just been so much out there. Like, we've been getting free concerts.
Yep.
We've been getting free comedy shows. We've been getting just battles. I mean, that was something, the challenges. We got to nice and see Manny Fresh versus Scott Storch. We got T-Pain.
I was a little surprised. With that outcome.
Yeah.
I think Manny, I respect Scott Storch. Manny, I felt like he kind of misfired his cue a little bit. He has some stuff he would have thought.
I mean, because all his stuff is really just with Cash Money. So,
but it's great stuff.
It's great stuff, but it was kind of like one hat for me. I don't know.
He left a lot of his good stuff off, is where I'm thinking. He didn't play in that battle right. But
yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
If I were to like assess it, I would give and I think I might have typed this on Facebook somewhere. I would give Manny Fresh 1999, and then I would give him 2007 to 2011, and I would give Scott Storch 2000 to 2006.
Okay. All right. Well, fair enough. There were some other battles. There's some good ones. Timbaland. Yeah. Who did he battle?
Wait, I don't think he battled anybody yet.
Oh, actually, you know what? I think somebody suggested him, and
somebody suggested it. He's been kind of quiet. Teddy Riley gave us a concert with Blackstreet last weekend.
And then didn't I see he might be doing something with Babyface or something?
He's battling Babyface today at 6 p.m. Eastern time.
You got the time, huh? You gonna watch it?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna watch
that. Okay. Timbaland did battle somebody, but I think he like smashed him. And then now people are saying he should be. I don't think a lot of people even watched it because they were like, this is not compelling. But people are suggesting he go up against Pharrell.
Oh, he went against Swiss Beats.
Oh yeah, and I feel like Swiss. Look, Timbaland's better. My homeboy told me he saw it. Timbaland is better in my opinion, but they felt like Swiss may have. Swiss actually came with it a little bit more than people forget about Swiss. I think people forget about Swiss.
A Swiss to me, again is another one that's kind of one hat. Like a lot of his stuff sounds the same to me, but I mean he's good. Yeah. It's fun stuff, but
Timbaland and Pharrell. That would be if they both come with it.
Yeah.
Woo,
yeah.
Woo. Yeah, I think if Pharrell can position that right, because Timbaland been around for a while and does different stuff with different people. So is Pharrell. But I think if Pharrell gets on a hot streak there, and it gets critical mass, that would be tough. That's a good battle. That's a really good battle. It's a very good battle. So we'll see. Man, but yes, you're right. Social media has been great. You see that meme that said, what if this had happened like in 99?
Oh, yeah, we had Nokia flip phones and couldn't do anything. We've been killing ourselves.
Yeah, DVDs. Blockbuster would have got rated to the point where like it would have just run out of stock. It'd have been like toilet paper. They would have been like, look, we got no more videos for y'all. Sorry, we got to shut down. But yeah, no, otherwise it's been good. I've been playing games. I've been playing like those like conquest games and stuff. I've been doing a lot of that.
Oh yeah, PS4 sales have gone up.
Yep. A friend of mine basically is like openly like goading me into buying one. He's like, look, go ahead and get one now so we could like start playing online. I'm like, dude, that's like the last thing on my mind. But yes, you need something to occupy your time. People are buying them. So
yeah, I can't see myself. Like I was thinking about it, but I was like, nah, I don't see myself getting one because PS5 is coming out in like October, November. So I was like, I can just wait a few months.
Yeah, we can wait. Did you see there've been a lot of people try to set up like card games and stuff like spades?
Yeah, I've been seeing that a lot.
That's a little tough, man. They were like, look, we got to go to auto code. I'm like, well, then you might as well not play because people are going to be reneging all over the place. I mean, I guess you could track it, but it can't. Now, I would do Monopoly, though. I would do Monopoly online. I would do that.
I don't know. So, games like Monopoly and Spades, they can get a little contentious. We've talked about that before.
Mm-hmm. So maybe it's safer that everybody's not in the same room. Hey, look, you want to talk about leaving the group? Like, you know what? I gotta go. I gotta walk by imaginary dog. Y'all get on my nerve.
Right. A friend of mine bought something that was really cool. He got a desktop Ms. Pac-Man that came with like 60 other like classic games. I was like, man, you lucky dog.
Yeah. And grocery apps have gone up, of course. We talked a little bit about some. We're not gonna give them pub, but there are a few out there. But I tried that for the first time this week, champ, and I was pleased with my results.
I'm
I
glad you
must
did
say.
it because I doing a Facebook message. I had implored you to start doing that. I was
Hmm.
like, please start using the grocery delivery services. So
Yeah,
I'm glad that worked out.
it has worked out. Definitely worked out. So yeah, it's I've settled in. I'm blessed to be able to work from home. I'm not taking it for granted. I know we just talked about it, and there are a lot of people. That governor was correct. He was using it the wrong way in his argument, but he is correct. A lot of people have jobs that they just can't do that.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that. But speaking of, I mean, we talked about news, but unemployment up, man. Woo! You see that number?
Well, last
So it's
number I
gonna be
saw was 6.6 million.
and that's fresh claims. So over the last 2 or 3 weeks, if you add the two up, it was 6.6 and 3.3. So essentially 10 million claims, new claims in like the last 3 weeks. That's crazy. So a lot of people will be at home at least in the short term, um, playing these games, watching these movies. My movie Q Sham, it's stack it up. Sham, I feel like since you brought up on the show how much your mom loves like Harlem Nights, and you brought up all these movies, I feel like all the movies I like have been thrown in your face like constantly, sister, because you've been talking about Boomerang, Harlem Nights. I've seen Boomerang all over the place. I was like, BT talking to me,
Yeah.
but
Before we started, they did a back to back Nutty Professor and Nutty Professor 2.
hmm
Last night, my mom and I watched on Epics. They were doing a MCU marathon in
okay,
order. Yeah,
okay.
so she had watched Thor before I got there, and then I posted about Captain America, and then after that they went into the first Avengers, and then I fell asleep on that. So I don't know if they did it all night, but
Sounds like
it
they did.
was
I
yeah.
keep forgetting that Disney bought Fox as well. So when I went to Disney Disney Plus, I should say, all the Simpsons are on there.
Yeah,
So I
every
was just
single episode.
every single episode. So I knew the FXX had done that a long time ago. But yeah, I was at work or working, I should say, on Friday, and there was nothing on. And then when I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, I just thought what I had Simpsons running in the background while I was doing whatever. Um, Battlestar Galactica. Sham, did you ever watch that show?
No.
It's good. It's very good. Um, sci-fi. So that show is one of the pillars of the new Sci-Fi Network when it was on, and it was very. It had a very popular. I won't even call it a cult following for that network. It was a big following. Definitely space opera type situation. I think it was on for 5 years. Sci-Fi has decided to stream it for free on their online platform, and they made that announcement this week. So a couple people I know wanted to get into that show, but it was hard because they didn't. Sci-Fi owned it exclusively, and if you didn't have Sci-Fi, you couldn't really watch it before now. But they're streaming it for free. So people getting with the program. HBO made me mad this week, Shan.
And why is
You want
that?
because they started offering their content for a lot of their content for free streaming. Which I understand you trying to get new customers, but can I get a discount as a loyal customer? They just throw it away, give it away to candy store.
They
I'm
are
out
though.
here. I'm out here caping for y'all. Talk to your old customers first.
Yeah,
Talk
they
to
are.
us.
Because I don't subscribe to HBO, as
Yeah,
you know, but I've been
yeah.
able to watch some content on Comcast because they've been giving away for free.
Right. Right. Come on, fellas. If you're gonna do that, since I guess y'all got money like that, all right, let's cut my little monthly payment down a little bit then.
They clearly have money like that. Like
Yeah. I saw that. I was like, look, I'm waiting for the email, like, okay, and since you're a valued customer, we're gonna go ahead and no, I none of that. So what
oh,
I gotta quit? What?
dude,
Go
that's how
ahead.
I feel about the food delivery apps. Postmates, DoorDash, everybody delivering for free. But guess what?
Yeah.
Dash Pass was nice and taken out of my account the other day. They still
Hey,
charging me $9.99.
that reminds me. Well, so the cities and localities have A lot of them, most places, the utilities have not done discontinuances. Tell me why a friend of mine got saw that on the news, got his bill like the day that they announced that, and called and canceled his auto payment, even though he could pay the money for the utility.
Yeah, we were talking about that too. Like nobody can get evicted. Nobody's cable could get cut off. Nobody's electricity. Everybody could just live in life right now. And so I was talking about that with my stepmother yesterday. I was like, I should just not pay my car note for like 3 months. And she was like, if you have the money, just pay it.
Right.
Don't be that
Right.
way.
Well, not only that, but I told him, I said, look, I said, it's not, I said, dude, they're not going to like wipe out the debt. They're just not discontinuing it. Like, so your debt's going to be like 3 times as much when it comes back on. And he was like, I'll worry about that when it happens. I'm like, oh, okay.
Like you just gonna keep that money to the side in case that happens.
Right.
No, you gonna spend it.
Right. Like I can see if they were like, look, we're just gonna wipe it out completely. It'd be different. But they were like, no, we're just not gonna cut you off, but you still gonna owe it. So anyway, no, I just again, some insight into the mentality of some Americans. That's all I'm gonna say. Oh man, but no, it's been good. So Sham, because of the dearth of options of entertainment going out at least, um, as we talked about just now, I've dived into some rabbit holes. One of them is Netflix, and yes, audience, that is me saying I watched the Tiger King because now Sham's position is she probably will not watch it. It's
Yeah, I'm not
probably
watching
too it's probably too gentle of a word for you.
I'm not watching it.
You're not watching it. Okay. Tiger King, I was skeptical because I saw bits and pieces of people describing it online, and I was like, this sounds dumb. I don't want to watch this. I don't care about this. And then finally, I saw stuff about a murder and stuff about whatever, and I was like, a murder? Okay, well, I like ID channel and stuff, so okay, fine, whatever. Now, Sham, one person said it's like a a bootleg backwater version of Game of Thrones, and then they put a lot of the people in there and put them next to the Game of Thrones characters. That meme almost won the week for me because after I saw it, I was like, okay, I see what they're talking about. And obviously, look, I'm not gonna give it away. A lot of people watch it, some people haven't. But there's a woman on there. It has nothing to do with the plot, but there's a woman who works at the zoo who, one of the tigers, uh, like basically ate they ate enough of the skin off her arm where they had to amputate her hand. So it
That's
didn't
sad.
bite the hand off. Yeah. And and look, why they put that meme next to Jamie just because she don't have a hand. I was like, oh my gosh, y'all are crazy.
That's great.
Y'all are crazy. But she still, or I think they closed the place down, but she stayed there after that. And she has no hard feelings. She told them to cut it off because they were like, look, we could just do surgery for like, but you would have to rehab it for like 2 years. And she was like, nah, screw that, just cut it off. Yeah. And she just is happy go lucky. She wanted to like most positive people on the special whenever they talk to her. But Sham, if you ever change your mind, that thing is crazy. It's
They
7 episodes.
they're
Oh,
about
go
to
ahead.
add another episode.
Now, here's my problem. I was just about to say it, and I'm gonna stay true to my form. You know how I am about stuff that's too long, even if it's good. Even if it's good, we've had this conversation about movies. This did not have to be 7, and if they do another one, it shouldn't. There's nothing else to do. They could have cut this in half. It could have been 3 parts, in my opinion. They jumped around a lot, which on one level was really good because they would save stuff and then bring it up later. You'd be like, "Whoa, okay, y'all been holding on to this information the whole time." But in general, though, there were parts of it I was like, okay, we're kind of going in a circle. Like we could have this in 3 episodes, maybe 3.5, or not 3.5. I'm sorry, but 3 episodes. So whatever. But when did you hear that about the extra episode? I didn't hear that.
I just saw it on my TV.
Wow. Okay. Well, they put an epilogue at the end of this one, so I'm curious what they left out. But okay. All right. Well, we'll see. All right. Now, on a wrap up, real quick on entertainment. We were on the cusp of it in our last episode, and then obviously it happened. So Nipsey Hussle, today is the 5th, excuse me, April the 5th. So we were on the cusp of the anniversary of his death. I think it was March 31st. of last year. So it's now been a year and some change. We did bring up the documentary about from BBC that is out. I was wrong that it was simulcast between BBC and Netflix. It's just BBC. So that's why I missed it because you have to go on BBC's website. I haven't really seen it on the actual channel. I have BBC as part of the cable package. I haven't seen it advertised on there, but they advertise it heavily on their own site. So the special is out. It's 45 minutes. They just go through the circumstances surrounding his death. I will watch it. Matter of fact, I'll probably watch it today. But I've read some articles about it, and Sham, I mean, we talked about it when it happened last year, but you want to talk about senseless? Like now we have a lot more details than we even had then. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the worst part about it. So at first everybody was, or the story was that Nipsey Hussle called Eric Holder a snitch, and that's why Eric Holder came back and killed him. Okay, well, right, but he wasn't. He was trying to look out for Eric Holder. He basically saw Eric Holder and was like, "Hey, man, listen, like, there's word on the street that you're a snitch, so just be careful and like, you know, if that's not true, like, you need to get it out there that it's not true because people are like coming for you." So he's like trying to look out for him. And then Eric Holder just gets mad. And one thing I found so weird, like they didn't argue because there was nothing to argue about. Like he wasn't trying to like go at him. And Eric Holder was just like, okay, and then like left, got something to eat, got his gun, came back and shot him. And it's like, what? Like it's so senseless, man. It's so senseless. Oh, and one other element that I read in the article, and people probably have read up on this by now, but this article was a year anniversary article that was written. At least the part I saw was the Associated Press, but it was in the Post. Okay, so the girl that Eric Holder was with, who eventually became the quote unquote getaway driver, she had no idea what was happening, and I believe her. So basically, like they met on like Tinder or something. She's an Uber driver anyway, so that's what happened. I'm sorry, they met because he was a passenger. She goes, picks Eric Holder up. They go get something to eat. Like they don't know Nipsey Hussle's around or whatever. They go to that shopping mall. She sees Nipsey Hussle. So this is what I think this boils down to. She sees Nipsey Hussle and says to Eric Holder, "Oh man, there goes Nipsey Hussle. Like he's really handsome and fly, and I like his stuff. I'm gonna
Oh
go take a
God.
picture." Yeah, and she's like, "I'm gonna go take a picture with him. I'm gonna take a selfie." And Eric Holder just met this chick like a month ago, so I'm thinking he's already stirring up He's getting jealous behind that. Whatever. Nipsey Hussle probably not even checking for this woman. So
Of
she
course
walks up
not.
to him. Right. She walks up to him and takes a selfie with him. Like, so this eventually becomes minutes before Eric Holder does this. Like she sees him, she walks up, he's gracious. I think he gives her an autograph. She takes a selfie and then posts it on Facebook saying, "Hey, I just took a selfie with Nipsey Hussle." And then he sees Eric Holder with her and he's like, "Hey man, let me talk to you." And so you put all that together and what you walk away from is Eric Holder got in his feelings because he already was probably mad, like whatever. And Eric Holder was a rapper. They came up in the same neighborhood. So he's jealous because Nipsey Hussle became successful and all this other stuff. But they knew each other. So he's probably mad in his feelings. The girl likes Nipsey Hussle, wants to take a picture with him. And then now he's feeling embarrassed because Nipsey Hussle is saying he's a snitch in front of her. Senseless, stupid. It's ridiculous. So I read all that and was like, man, this is just tragic. But I will watch that special. So rest in power to Nipsey Hussle. You saw, and we'll get into sports unless you have anything else in entertainment. But you saw obviously Russ back last year did a lot of stuff with Nipsey Hussle. So when this came around this year, I think Russ and I saw somebody else posted like a video where they were playing a lot of his songs and putting the marathon continues and all that, and doing one of those challenges. Didn't DJ Khaled like scream it out or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of stuff. People
Nipsey
still.
Hussle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, DJ Khaled. That dude amuses me. But anyway, any other entertainment stuff like while the world is ground to a halt?
Nah, I mean, other than that, like it's a good time to be a podcaster, I gotta say.
Oh yeah, y'all
Lots
gonna
of
see that.
people, lots of people are popping up with podcasts now because people are just they got idle time to just listen to new things, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so I'm gonna start trolling the internet and charging tribute and hazing new podcasters.
Oh God.
Tell them stay off our turf.
No,
Nah, but
whatever.
nah, but in a good way though. We've always said this. We like the podcast community, and I think now more than ever, we're all coming together as a community. So
Yep.
a lot of exciting stuff in the works, guys. We'll leave it like that.
Yep. So let's move on to some sports.
So we got some updates. Got some updates on sports. We spent a lot of time talking about just the horrific uh, defense strategy from the Soccer Association. I would just call them that, Soccer Federation.
The U.S.
Um,
Soccer Federation.
there it is. About the women's national team and their lawsuit against them for equal pay. And you had alluded at the time that they had already started to. You stated at the time they already started to walk that back. They had apologized about their statements, very sexist statements. This week it came out that they have formally like completely changed their defense strategy because even though the statement was the statement, even though it was barbaric, that was still their position. That part of the reason I think they more so were like, look, we didn't really state it in a good way, but we do feel like this. Like the physical toll is different. They have now completely like thrown away that defense, and saying, look, we can't use that as a defense. But they're still not trying to pay them. Let's get that straight. They just changed the strategy. So I really didn't get a lot of details on what the new strategy is, but the bottom line is they're fighting this thing, Sham. They're not going to settle. They're not trying to pay these women. They're just not, which is crazy to me. So, that's the update there. But at least they did throw away. They should have fired whoever put that on paper. I didn't hear them say that. Did they do that? Even when you said they apologized?
Oh, Carlos Cordero resigned.
Now, who's he?
He was the president of the federation.
He was the president. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they should have fired. They should have fired the whatever member of the legal team put that in the brief. They should have fired him too. So whatever. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah. He resigned, and they got new legal counsel for the remainder of the lawsuit. So
excellent. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. Good. Yeah, because y'all were on the wrong path on that. All right. Cool. Sham, we spent a good part of the last part, maybe the last big segment, talking about free agency in the NFL, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting how this, pandemic ripples out the real world consequences that we've already talked about, life and death. And then there's sort of some like unintended, like, wow, really? But I guess that makes sense. Consequences. I would put that under this. So all the free agency signings we had, and then there are a couple that trickled in after that. One thing at the NFL, some of these free agency deals have fallen apart, literally because the players can't get with the team, do a physical, and do their interview. So in a normal free agency year, I saw this with Ian Rappaport. He reported it in Schefter too. You always get at least maybe 2 or 3 at the most deals that are done, but then somebody fails a physical or something, so they have to nullify the deal. Already there have been 6, and this is only in the first like week and a half, 2 weeks of free agency, in which there's been a deal done and the deal has fallen apart. One of those deals was my Raiders talking about, which we did. This happened after we taped. We signed Eli Apple, Sham. What the hell were we thinking?
Actually, I thought that happened like before we taped. I just forgot to bring it up. We just
didn't mention it. Okay.
Yeah, I forgot to bring it up, and then that fell through like basically after, like the day after we recorded the last episode.
So I've been talking to a couple friends about this. First of all, I was distraught when we signed Eli Apple. So I'm surprised I didn't remember to bring it up on the show, but I'm glad I did because it might have led to another Kirk. Look, I was so happy this fell apart. And here comes some of my friends who know this, who know football. They were like, well, he played good. He played well last year with New Orleans. I don't care how he played with New Orleans. Number one, playing well with New Orleans, what exactly does that mean?
I don't know. They're not known for their defense.
Exactly. He was slightly better than the trash he put out with the New York Giants, who threw him away. And so he went to New Orleans, who was terrible at defense, and played slightly better with them. That was my opinion about it. But anyway, I was like, I'm glad this fell apart. I hate to say it like this. If I can't take one good thing from the pandemic, it stopped us from doing that. So good. He couldn't make it. You know what I'm thinking? His mom probably had something to do with this, by the way.
Well,
She
that's why
probably,
New York traded
yeah,
him. They wanted his mom out of there.
exactly. Yeah. So we don't need that in our camp. Oh, Sham. Uh, Speaking of free agency, this happened right after. Now, this conversation between the two of us happened right after we taped it. This whole thing. We didn't put it on the outline, but I think that was a good time to talk about it. Can we talk about Antonio Brown a little bit more? We mentioned him last episode, but what he did uh, or on social media, like after we talked about him not going to Tampa. You remember what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
You want to lay that out?
Nope.
I'll lay it out. I'm sorry I had to bring it up. Antonio Brown's another guy like 50 Cent and Trump, who is a horrible human being, but sometimes he's funny. I would say less with him, 1% of the time. Yeah, it's like 99% of the time you're like, dude, like, just shut up and go away.
Yeah.
So Antonio Brown decided that he wanted to post statistics about himself and Julio Jones. Sham, I forget the exact verbiage. That's why I wanted you to lay it out because you're better at this. I'll look it up though. You're laughing, so you might as well do it.
I'm laughing because I sent you the screenshot of what he posted on his Instagram.
Yes. So now you're gonna make me go back and look for it. You know what he said. Let's tell the listeners right now.
Yo, your man said he's better than Julio Jones, which I will say this. In the past, when those conversations have come up, I have caped for Antonio Brown because his numbers were better. But
I was guilty in one conversation of saying that a while ago.
Yes. Right. But I think with Julio Jones, though, so he said, tell Julio to look up the stats. I got more touchdowns than Julio Jones had in the past 5 years, and I took a year off, which is facts.
That's facts.
Those are facts.
It was horrible for him to put it on there because it's like, dude, why are you even taking shots? Julio didn't even do nothing to him. Right. I don't think, right? To solicit that, right?
But the thing about it is, Antonio Brown was targeted more, had more catches, and his stats were padded because of that. So if you're looking at efficiency, Julio Jones gives you more by way of efficiency because their yardage was very similar at the time. But Julio did it with less catches.
Right. And look, the bottom line, we both have said it. Julio Jones's lack of touchdowns is not anywhere near. You just laid out all the like sort of on paper cogent reasons, but just we both have lamented. It's inexcusable his lack of targets and just in general how they just cannot seem to get the ball to him, especially in the red zone. It's inexcusable.
What was it, like 20 straight games he couldn't get a red zone pass?
It was crazy. And they would lose games off of stuff like this. Like Atlanta would march the ball up and down the field, need a score, and like not even look his way at the end of the game. It's like, what are you doing? It's crazy. So I think we all have an innate understanding of why that is what that is, but still, it's one of those things that Antonio Brown sees a fact like that, puts it up, and it's just like, whatever, I'm walking off.
Yeah.
And so, you can't, it's facts. You have to accept it.
The stats that he's referring to are this. Julio Jones has played 77 games. Antonio Brown has played 61. Antonio Brown has 47 touchdowns in those 61 games, and Julio Jones has 31 in the 77 that he played.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that's crazy. Now, one last thing. So we can talk about targets and all that. I'm pretty sure yardage wise now, Antonio Brown's a lot of yards too, so it's not like he's not like blowing them away. But there was one year, especially I want to say 2 years ago, and I brought it up on the show. Julio Jones had like 1,800 yards, damn near, which was killing everybody. So that makes it even more inexcusable because basically what that was saying was, yeah, they know that he's there and they definitely are looking at him. They've been in the offense and Matt Ryan and everybody else until it's time to score in the red zone, and then like they act like they forgot about him. So it's crazy.
Not even that though; they just don't make the correct play call in the moment. And
exactly.
And I say this as somebody who, everybody knows I like the Eagles, and we generally play them early in the season every year. And the game
that is a weird fact, but yes, go ahead. Yeah,
the game that it was really apparent that it had been like 20 or so straight games without it was our opening game after we won the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there and I was like incredulous because I'm like, yo, they make the wrong play call every time. Like when he's open in the red zone, they don't throw it, but they'll force a play to him in the red zone and a play that he can't make. And that's what the issue is. I said, they're going to do the same. They did the same play. I counted like 5 or 6 times trying to hit him in the same spot in the red zone that they couldn't make. And every time, and as bad as our secondary is, we knew it was coming and he couldn't make the play. So I blame it on play calling.
Sham, I have a vivid image of my head of the play you're talking about. And by play, I mean play call, like you said, because they did it several times. And I want to say we talked about it on this show because some of those throws, it was like, I mean, if Julio Jones was Superman, he couldn't have caught that, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And he's about the closest thing you could get to Superman. I mean, the man can't jump 20 feet in the air at the back of the end zone and come down in bounds. And like, what are you doing? And like, it was one of those things like, you walk away from it, you're like, did they just do that so that they could say they tried to throw it to him? Because that's the only logical explanation for why that play was so bad, why that throw was so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's crazy. And by logical, I mean illogical explanation. That's the only explanation. Right. But no, I know exactly. I remember what you're talking about, and you're absolutely right. Absolutely. So yeah, but anyway, AB, yeah, chill out though, sit down. Nobody's trying to sign you. Bruce Arians, who probably of all the coaches, you were the most cool with because he coached you, I guess, in Pittsburgh. Even he was like, nah, I'm not. I don't even waste my time with this dude.
Yo, if the Patriots didn't even keep you, then because Patriots will pick up any excuse for a football player and try to turn him into a great person.
And we talked about Billy B and how he was mad about losing Jimmy G. That was another one he was mad about. He didn't want to cut AB. Mm-hmm. He didn't want to cut AB. That was Kraft. So there's been a couple of little moves Kraft's made over Billy B sometimes where Billy B's like, come on, man, look, we're trying to win games. I mean, it's an accusation. It's not a fact. I can see Billy B right now like, look, man, has he been convicted of anything? I can see him like, hey, man, people say you got your little hand job down in Florida, but, that ain't convicted, right?
Straight strip mall in Jersey.
Bob Kraft, hey, man, I don't care what else he does. All I know is my man is a billionaire chef and still went and got the Groupon rate on a hand job at a strip mall. Yeah, they said it was $100.
Hey, man, save $1 or $2.
I mean, right. And got it from a recommendation from his boy. Like, hey, man, I know what they do with hand jobs at the strip mall. Like, we can go right now. Matter of fact, if we hit it right now, we can get you on the plane to the AFC Championship.
Right.
Oh, God, I don't know why that's so funny to me, but it is. All right. So anyway, free agency is it's still moving along. Most of the contracts are going, but it's just there was a spike to round out this story. There was a spike in the contracts falling apart because the players can't visit and do physicals. And apparently virtual hangout doesn't work for a lot of these players. If the team can't talk to you, I have heard this, it's affected people like Jameis Winston because he technically he hasn't been hurt, but the teams want to like he got cut, right? But what I'm saying is it's affecting his market because even though he's healthy, the teams aren't concerned about that. They just want to be able to sit down with him in a room and be like, hey, man, is your head on straight? Because you're always getting into trouble.
Well, you can do that via Zoom.
They, for the report I saw from Ian Rappaport, they were like, look, the teams want to be able to look him in the eye face to face, and that's going to affect this market. I agree with you. I think they should be able to talk to him, but they want to like actually physically see him. So it's messed up how that was working, but apparently it's affecting him that way. Now somebody like Cam, who their injury questions about, it's really going to affect him.
Yeah.
So, yep. That's it for that. Now, one of the last things, at least we had, commissioners, all the commissioners of all the leagues, including Goodell, they had a conference call with 45. And the only news I've seen out of the sham that is noteworthy is that 45 and Goodell pretty much on the same page. Like, look, the way we're seeing this track, we expect NFL Week 1 to start as scheduled.
Whoa.
We expect, yeah, because that's September. So they can afford to be a little bit more, I guess, optimistic.
Well, about
But,
preseason.
well, they've already started to change the rules, right? So does that new rule go into effect this year? Where since they add the extra game, I think they're going to cut one preseason game, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
that still starts in August.
Yeah, so that gives them at least another week in August. But yeah, they didn't really answer that question in the article that I saw. But I guess my point is, if we're not feeling comfortable in August by week 2 of August, then why should we feel comfortable 2 or 3 weeks after that? If anything, which I should hope is that, okay, look, maybe MLB, like we talked about last week, we should get to a point where the MLB feels comfortable starting on the 4th of July. But then and then they need to figure out what they're going to do with this season. But we already said they need to shorten it. If you feel that comfortable where you can start that season, maybe play some empty stadiums at first and then get the fans in there over the course of the month, then you get the preseason for the NFL off to its start in August. Now the question is the NBA, how are they going to finish this season? And then what are they going to do about the playoffs?
Yeah,
I didn't see that addressed.
Yeah, he's like really determined to have a champion for this season, but he's not willing to move forward until he gets an all clear from health officials. So if he has to suspend the entire league for this year, he will. He's not, and that's why I mess with Adam Silver.
Adam Silver, yeah. I almost did it again, Sam, by the way.
I was thinking. I said I better do the job.
Oh God, keep going.
Yeah, but that's that's why I mess with Adam Silver though, because he's about the players. Look, he knows that there's a lot of money at stake. He knows that there's advertisers, there's ticket sales, there's ownership. He's like, look, I'm not running my league or letting my league continue until I get a clear from health officials, and I'm willing to cancel the rest of the season, although that's not what we want to do.
Have you heard anything more about the and I'm asking because I have not. Have you heard anything more about the Big 3 plan?
No, I haven't. I haven't heard it.
Yeah. About that. Maybe he's trying to still figure that out. And you're right, Adam Silver, look, in a good way, he's in a box because he can't jump out there having been pretty much at the forefront of let's be cautious, let's be safe. He can't go back on that at any cost. He can't be the face of sports going back on that when he was the face of, like you said, player safety and fan safety. So we'll see how that plays out. That would be so disappointing though, man. We talked about how injuries at the beginning of the season kind of put a pale on it, but it was a good NBA season, and these playoffs would have been very interesting if it turns out that they don't happen. I was very much looking forward to the playoffs this year, and how they will play out because LeBron and the Lakers looked good. The Clippers, they hit their little blocks, but they were looking good. And I just would have loved to see how that panned out, especially after that All-Star game where you kind of saw what everyone was capable of when they really like have their head on straight.
Nah. It's just funny.
You're like, whatever.
Like, I just laugh because I'm like, yeah, this is probably the year that Bron could once again win another championship.
I know, right? That's why he was. Yeah, I know he's hurt. This is taking a year off his life, off his basketball life. That's crazy.
Oh, breezy.
Yeah. Oh, Sham, I forgot to bring this up in our pre-production, but this is sports related, but I watched it on HBO. So, gratuitous. Yeah, I still like them, even though they screwed me on the package. The Scheme. Have you heard about and or seen this?
No.
Okay. So this is about the and I forget the guy's name. I'm gonna look it up right now, but it's about college basketball and Sean Miller in Arizona, the guy who he was linked with, Christian, I forget his last name, black guy though, and it's a documentary. It's maybe hour and a half, maybe almost 2 hours long about the whole FBI raid behind paying players and playing college basketball that happened last year. And it was very good. It just premiered on HBO like 2 or 3 weeks ago. It is very good. It is very good. And you like college basketball a lot, and I think you would like this a lot. And when Christian Dawkins, that's his name, Christian Dawkins. So he was not really an agent, but he was a handler. But he was hired by a bunch of sports agencies, and he kind of came up in basketball. Real young guy, Sham. And the gist is that he basically got entrapped into a scheme, and I use that word specifically because the FBI and everybody else, they were trying to nail Rick Pitino and other people for paying players to come to their schools, and he was doing that anyway. He was an AAU type guy. He was paying people to go other places, and they used undercover agents to entrap him into the scheme. It is well worth the watch. I'm telling both you and the listeners, especially if you like college basketball and you follow it. They showed all these coaches. They have Sean Miller from Arizona and a couple other coaches on the phone with him. Then they showed them at their press conferences, basically lying, like acting like they didn't know him and all that. And they showed them like on tape. So it's very good. Very
Speaking
good
of Rick
watch.
Pitino, though, he was hired on March 14th as the head coach
Mm-hmm.
of Iona College. And
Interesting hire there.
interesting hire. And I always knew that a smaller college, like a mid-major or something, was going to be one that he would end up at. Like at this point, he's got to kind of rehabilitate his career. So they're going to go from a very unpopular mid-major to one that's going to be seen all over television now because they're going to be under a microscope. So that's going to bring a lot of notoriety to that program.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm glad you brought that up, and real quick about this game. It lets you know what kind of resources our government places on it. The FBI spent all kinds of money on this, and it's like, really, for college basketball? Like, Sham, I'm telling you, if you do watch it, like, you'll be like, this is disgusting.
Look, our government cares about money. They care about capitalism. And NCAA is one of the biggest money-making machines in the world. So, of course, they're going to put resources into that.
Well, if you saw how they treated him, you would have thought the man was El Chapo. And I specifically use that because El Chapo comes up and this is a young guy. This is like, he's just trying, whatever. Anyway, but yes, you're right. But college basketball is big business. It will make me, as I already don't like the NCAA as an institution, it made me dislike them more. And I won't talk about our government on our podcast because I don't want to put our podcast on the list like that. We can talk about 45, but I can't be out here like, oh, like the government. I ain't trying to do that. Government's fine. I'm good, Sham.
Yeah.
They already detained me at Reagan, so I'm already on somebody's list.
And to round out our sports, the Basketball Hall of Fame class was announced, the 2020 class. And the biggest name of that class and it was voted in posthumously, was Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant.
My favorite women's player, Tamika Catchings, Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Kim Mulkey, coach, Rudy Tomjanovich, also a coach, Barbara Stevens, Eddie Sutton, and Patrick Bowman. Now, people are arguing that this is the best Hall of Fame class ever. I cannot sit here and say that any class without Michael Jordan in it would be the best Hall of Fame class. So no.
I wish I had I'll go ahead and just be comfortable with what you just said and I'll say I'll agree with that. And or if, well, no, because Magic and Bird then
they were 4 years apart
at this time saying, if they had, I wish they had, that would have been
a good class.
But I'll put it this way. I think we both have said, I think I've been a little bit more strong about it. I do not like how college or how the Basketball Hall of Fame works, period. So because of that, I haven't really kept up with the classes and none stick out in my mind. This is a good one, but you're right. I mean, MJ being in whatever one he was in, that's got to be talked about as one of the best, no matter who else is in it.
So CBS Sports.com did rank them.
Oh, okay, good.
And so this current class was ranked second. The first class was the class of 2009, which had Michael Jordan, David Robinson, John Stockton, Jerry Sloan, and C. Vivian Stringer.
Oh, that's a pretty
So
good.
they have ranked that number one because of the same opinions that I have. I would even say like class of 1980: Oscar Robertson, Jerry Lucas, Jerry West, Les Harrison, Everett Shelton, Dallas Shirley could be put above this year's class.
Well, Stockton and Sloan being in Jordan's class, and I don't know if that was part of the reasons you're talking about. Because Stockton and Sloan, especially, both of them have records as well, like crazy records.
Well, yeah,
On their own.
Jerry Sloan was the coach of John Stockton and Malone
And
for
Malone,
pretty much
right?
their whole career. So,
Exactly.
and I mean, and C. Vivian Stringer is just legendary. So
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
definitely, you could argue that class. 2008, 2018, that had Ray Allen, Grant Hill, Jason Kidd, Steve Nash, is ranked pretty high. It also had lefty Tina Thompson, who won the WNBA championship, I want to say 4 times. So that was a good class too. And the class that they put at 5 has Adrian Dantley, Patrick Ewing, Hakeem Olajuwon, Pat Riley, Catchy Rush, Bill Davidson, and Dick Vitale.
That is pretty impressive.
Yep.
That is very impressive. Can I ask you specifically about one snub that I've seen get some traction?
Okay.
A lot of people were upset that Tim Hardaway. Where do you land on that one?
I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
Me neither.
They mad about Chris Webber too.
Now, I think here's my only thing about Chris Webber. Based on some of the other people, so that Chris Webber is like a what about candidate to me in terms of if he's not in, then I need some other people to. I need an explanation as to some other people are in and he is not.
Like Tracy McGrady.
Yeah, and honestly, Tracy McGrady. I'll put it this way: I wouldn't use him as my first example because he was a prolific scorer and he led the league in that for many years. But he was hurt a lot and didn't play a lot of games, or missed a lot of games because of it, I should say. So yeah.
Towards the end, I want to say like the last 3 years of his career, he really couldn't get it together. But at his peak, I mean, there was his 3 years in Toronto. But at his peak from when he left Toronto and played in Orlando and Houston, he was a beast.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was. And so, so for that reason, he wouldn't be, I guess, my prime example. But
he was a first ballot, though. And that's
I have a little bit of an issue with that. Yeah, I agree with you. And Chris Webber, I mean, this is a tough class to get in. So I guess sometimes it's also a function of, but Chris Webber's been retired for a while, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So he's just still not in, period?
No, he's not in.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a problem with that then. If this had been his first ballot and then the names you just read for the ones that's in, I'll be like, okay, well, look, he just got unlucky, ran into a logjam. But for him not to have been in by now, I think is a little bit of a problem. Because I think between his time in Washington, his time here, and then his time in Sacramento, his body of work was good enough.
I honestly think his work in Sacramento alone should have put him closer to being in.
It certainly could have. Yeah. And then when you add it to like that Washington, he was our little tiny resurgence, if you want to call it, was because of him. And then I guess Juwan Howard later, but more so him.
Yeah.
Than anything. So
it's kind of like how I feel about Barry Bonds too. Like his career in Pittsburgh could have had him in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
Like disregard all the time with the Giants, like just the Pittsburgh. So
Barry Bonds is tragic in the sense of like, why'd you do what you did? You had 2 Hall of Fame careers like separately. Right. You didn't need to do what you did for any of that. But anyway, but Tim Hardaway though, I mean, Sam, the vitriol I saw about it was like, really, guys?
Like, he's been retired forever too. Like,
yeah. You know what I think it is? I think it boils down to people see people on like NBA Jam and stuff, like when we grew up, and they're like, oh, that person should be in the Hall of Fame. Like, okay, well, those were the two, or something like NBA Jam where they pick the best two players off every team. So it's like, okay, well, under that logic, I guess Scott Skiles should be in the NBA, should be in the Hall of Fame too, because
Yeah,
I used to play with him on the Wizards.
30 assists in a game.
Yeah, like come on, guys. Just because you played with him on, on Genesis for a couple of years, don't mean they need to be in the Hall of Fame. All right, like chill. But yeah, that was one I wanted to ask you about because a lot of people had some strong feelings. I was like, maybe I'm missing something. Like, what am I missing?
I'm good on him.
Yeah, you good? All right. In general, you good?
I'm good.
All right. Well, I think we talked about it before the show, so we're excited about a few things coming up, and we're gonna treat you guys to that. Sham, you gonna take us out?
Yes, thank you for listening to this episode of the Stop Playing Podcast with Sham and Shaka. Keep listening to us on your favorite podcast platforms and tell a friend. Tell us how they can listen to us too. And I've recently been posting this website called Podlink. It basically puts in one area all the platforms. So if you go to the Podlink and your platform is there, you can click on that and it'll take you right to our page. You can also
awesome.
You can chat it up with us on Twitter at stop_playing_pod, on Instagram, where we've been communicating a lot with other podcasters in the podcasting community, the Stop Playing Podcast, and also on Facebook at the Stop Playing Podcast. And you can email us at stopplayingpodcast@gmail.com. And as we always say, no double dipping. Keep your chips on the plate. Only double dip if you're listening to the podcast. And be safe out there, everybody.
Stop playing.